All right, Princess, thank you for the warm introduction. And it seems the power you're seeking, you've already gained, because I don't know why you feel you can influence me to anchor this book for the whole of this book throughout the review. But it's okay. Maybe we'll see. We'll see whether you really have that influence and the power you're looking for. So, okay, so that was on the lighter note. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. And welcome back to the Business Readers Global. Yes, it's a pleasure to see everyone here. It's been such a long while. When was the last time we had a review? David, can you remember? I think it was over a month ago also. Yes, and a lot has happened in between. We've had new members, we've had training sessions, so much has happened in between. And it's just such a pleasure to be back in the boardroom. I see our regular members. Thank you, because the truth is you have always kept the spirit of this book club alive. I see our newer members. Thank you for coming back. I see Ogo Joy. I know I haven't seen you in a while as well, but it's really good to have you back. And then we have some very old members that were away for so long that now I'm sure the newer members believe they are new members, so they will have to reintroduce themselves. You're welcome back, Aliu. Yes, I'm welcoming him back, especially. He's one of our starting founding members, distinguished member from the MTN. We haven't seen him in so long. We actually thought he was transferred maybe to the Sahara Desert or something where the network was poor. I don't know. Mr. Aliu, you'll have to explain eventually. Thankfully, the signals are back. Yes. So where have you been, Mr. Aliu? Really, I am curious. I need to know. Where have you been?
I never thought you'd put me on the spot, but
oh my goodness,
thank you.
I always put you on the spot, Aliu. I always do.
Thank you for that. I don't know how to start, but yeah, I've been transferred to a bigger market with so much challenges and let me say chaos, and it really destabilized me. You understand? I've not been able to do much with myself. I just called Princess yesterday and I was talking to her. I was like, if I continue on this trajectory, you understand, I will just keep on losing value and would add knowledge, you understand, to myself. And I need to come back immediately. She accepted me with open hands in her usual manner without putting me on the spot like you're doing at the moment. But that's just a short summary of what happened. I got transferred at bigger responsibility, bigger market, so much chaos and stress, and it took away all my time. But I've settled, and I just told Princess yesterday, you can't settle 100%. There must also always be this what should I say, chaos, challenge, and what have you, and you have to make time to improve on yourself despite all. So that's just what happened, and I'm glad. I'm very happy I'm back. That's the truth. I'm very happy I'm back, and nice seeing your faces too. Thank you.
Yes, and you look good too. You're welcome back. And I don't know what happened to the white beards, but I didn't see any. Oh, you do look good. You're welcome back. Yes.
Thank you.
We welcome you back with open arms. So yeah. So tonight is it's particularly exciting because after such a long hiatus, we're resuming to a powerful book, which is called Power. And even after hearing what Ali had to say, he has been transferred, I'm sure he'll be excited to read this book with us. So the book we're going to be reviewing is called Power by Pfeffrey. I hope I got that right. Power, why some people have it and others don't. So this book, it's not the kind of book that tells us, work hard, be nice, be confident, be good at everything. No, I think it comes with a slightly different message. And he says, while competence does matter, other things are even more important than competence. He talks about visibility, he talks about relationships, and then he talks about power and how power works. So sometimes you look around and you wonder, how did that person get promoted before me? Or how come that person is leading this project? I think this book attempts to explain some of the mysteries around the organizational and business life. Then, of course, as usual, with every good book, you don't have to agree with everything. Debate is expected. We want you to debate it. We want you to disagree. And we want you to bring different opinions as well. We know that some of us have already finished reading this book. Some of us are just here. We don't know how we found ourselves here, but we are here. Others, like me, relied on summaries, read up summaries of the book. Some maybe divine inspiration, I don't know. Some of us are just waiting to hear from others. But the truth is, as usual, this is a judgment-free zone. We're happy to have you here. And the beauty of the Business Readers Global is that it's not just about the books we read. It's about learning from one another, challenging our thinking, learning new things. And the truth is, sometimes some of the lessons we learn here are not from the books we read themselves, but from the experiences we share with one another. So once again, welcome back to the Boardroom, business readers. The Boardroom is open. We're resuming this journey together. And without further ado, I'm going to invite our first reviewer, our very own Presido, Mr. Oluwatoyin Ayedun. So the floor is yours. The session begins now. The floor is open. So over to you, Mr. Oluwatoyin.
I'm so sorry about that. I was looking for where to unmute myself. For some reason, my screen just played up on me. Okay, thank you very much, Nenla. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for this very exciting session of the book, Power. I think I'm really liking the book. And basically, the book speaks to the fact that, as humans, we have a way of influencing the things around us and understanding that it's not about manipulation. It's not about trying to manipulate others, but trying to sort of get to that point where you can assert influence and authority, especially as leaders of organizations. So I would say sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 10 to 15 minutes of my presentation whilst we go through the writer's perspective in terms of chapter 1. So chapter 1 of the book is very interesting. It starts off on a very good note. And chapter 1 is titled, It Takes More Than Performance. It Takes More Than Performance. Like I said, this book is one of the books that sort of, it's like if you've been reading books, let's say if you've been reading other books that are sort of pointing you towards how to do things, skills, and, just those things that we do on a day-to-day. This helps us to understand better or better how to do it in a fluid manner, how to do it in a way that our performance can be seen, in a way that our performance can be appreciated, basically. So if you look at things from, okay, let's say you take a car engine, and you got all the cranky parts that come together, when you turn on the ignition, the lighting happens and everything starts, turning. Just somewhere in between, you have where you put the gear, the gear oil, sorry. You put the gear oil there, and that gear oil is what allows the gear work to happen smoothly, what we call engine oil back home in Nigeria. So when you put the engine oil in, the engine oil allows that fluidity. And that's how I see this book, right? You could have all the right skills to carry out the job on a daily. You could have all the understanding of the job you're doing. You could be the best at it. But if you don't have the skill that we're about to talk about in this book or those skills, then you can have that fluidity. You can have that seamless way to your performance. Way out to your performance, if you allow me to speak that way. Okay, so we go back to the book once more, and chapter 1 says it takes more than performance. And I will just run through it before I will share my screen for the AI slide that I've got. These days we're so lazy, we just do AI slides. Basically, the writer himself, he talks about, you know, the fact that your performance is not enough to get you through the door when it comes, I mean, or to get you, you know, let me use the word, to get you when it comes to promotion, things like promotions, things like, you know, going further in your career or growing in your career. You cannot bank on performance only. Now, where does that stand? It means that you can't say, oh, I'm the best performer in my team, I'm the best performer in my department, and that's enough to get me a promotion. And I'll give you a background story from the perspective of the writer, which he talked about a gentleman called Rudy Crew. In 2004, he was hired as a superintendent of Miami-Dade County schools, where they were going through financial and academic challenges, basically. You know, despite the guy working hard to improve the performance metrics and earning accolades for it, which means, of course, at the time when he did it, he got a thumbs up, he got thank you, he got all the good accolades for it, but it was still dismissed 4 years later, which is in 2008. So between 2004 and 2008, I'm sure he did a good job, but probably something was missing and he got dismissed. So it's just similar patterns happening everywhere. You know, there's job insecurity despite our performance or people's performances, right? And we see it in various sectors on a daily basis where people are doing well, but yet they're still being, you know, hounded for other things. They are still being the ones that the pointer gets to when it comes to maybe organization reduction in size of the organizations, like redundancies and stuff like that. They still point to them even though they have done their best. So what could be the cause of, you know, this type of pattern? And that's why we want to look at some very salient points. You know, it talks about the weak link between performance and job outcomes. Also, the writer talks about in this chapter 1, he talks about getting noticed. And he also talks about, you know, defining the dimensions of performance on the average or overall. And also he talks about remember what matters to your boss. So this is a very important one. You should remember what matters to your boss. And he also talks about making others feel better about themselves. Okay, so we'll go through each of these one by one. I'll just share my screen quickly and use the next 10 minutes to give us sorry, 1 minute. I've got so many so many tabs open, so sometimes I'm struggling to get the right one up here. Okay, let me share the screen. Can you see my screen now? Oh no, I'm not sharing yet. It's not showing. Okay. Sorry, Nella, can you confirm if you can see my screen now, please?
Yes, sure. Sure, we can see your
screen. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, yeah. So let me start from the beginning. So like I said before now, the fact that you're doing so well performance-wise in your job does not guarantee, a promotion or that you would get to the zenith of your career. So it's very important that we understand this. And I learned this quite early, when I was working in, I think this is more of a Western pattern, like, when you talk about companies that have their roots from this side, especially the Americans, the North Americans generally, they kind of speak to the fact that, relationships will always, some way or the other, relationships will always be seen over, or be valued over performance, right? What do I mean? Like relationship with your manager, relationship with your bosses will always be valued over your performance. And that is not to say that you should underperform, but what we are saying is that the performance aspect alone is not enough to get you through, through that door to the next level. So if you understand this, while I was working in one of the American companies then, it was very difficult for me or for us as Africans to understand, because when we see someone who had that very cordial relationship with their bosses, and maybe after work sometimes they go out to have a nice time, maybe sometimes during the office, during break time, they're hanging out, chatting and all of that, we feel it's what we call eye service, right? We say, oh, no, this guy is just doing eye service, he's just doing eye service. But guess what? Next performance cycle, this guy gets the best rating, he gets promoted, he gets a higher pay rise and everything. And we are like, oh, this guy, no wonder this, that. Oh, and all of those things just keep, going on. And we feel like, there's favoritism, there is something that's not happening right. But unfortunately, that's the way the corporate world is built. That's how it is formed. So you have to walk around that formation. And if you don't walk around that formation, then you are only doing it to your own disadvantage. And so here it says that high achieving leadership outcomes do not always translate into organizational longevity or job security. So it's very important that you understand that. And here it talks about the case study of Rudy Crew. Like we said before, he got onboarded in 2004, got dismissed in 2008. His achievements, he did something great. He was commended for it, got recognition. But despite that objective, his excellence and improved metrics, he faced political pushback and eventual non-renewal of contract. So what does this mean? Quickly, you cannot be at loggerheads with your employer. That's when I mean employer, your manager, especially your direct manager, right? If you are to work in the same department as a manager, or you just have to find a way to coexist with them without ruffling feathers, without trying to claim that, I used to have a colleague then. He was always like, he knows it better than the manager. In fact, was the manager even doing in that role, because he could do the manager's role. Thankfully, when he was given the exit paper, or when he was shown through the door, he got some sort of compensation. They sort of it was not a full dismissal. It was like, they just kind of packed it up for him, and they gave him some money to go. But it was obvious that it was his behavior that was not a right fit with the organizational behavior in that sense, because he always thought he knew better than his manager. And I'm talking about somebody that was so close to me, So these things happen quite much, and we need to understand that the politics of organizations, the politics that was even in any relationship, even in the home front, you have to understand that there's politics. You have to understand that you have to seek or do the right power play when you are, in that relationship. So very important. And also here it talks about why performance isn't enough. Research reveals a weak and often non-existent correlation between raw performance metrics and long-term career advancement. So it talks about the key drivers of career outcomes. Relationships is the quality and influence of managerial and mentor relationships. So how are you building your relationships in the organization that you are today? How are you fostering positive engagement? How are you understanding that? How are you understanding, your colleagues, your bosses, and trying to, not to outplay them or what's what I'm looking for? Not to, you don't want to outshine. Thank you. That's the word. I've not read the 48 Laws of Power, but I always hear people say one of the core laws there is don't outshine your master. So very important that you can imagine someone trying to outshine their master. You need to understand that it's going to spell doom at the end of the day. So we're talking about things like organizational factors, tenure and visibility within the firm. So these are some things that can help you as against just performance. So if you build good relationships, if you've stayed in an organization long enough. So for instance, sometimes some people, definitely for you to be there long enough, it means that you've gone through the highs and lows. It means that you've gone through all the different cycles and you are still able to, you're still able to withstand and stay in that organization. That alone can be an advantage because leaders look at it as, oh, this guy is loyal. This guy, is the kind of guy we want to work with. So that is one of the ways people grow. So when you've been there long enough, when you understand what to do, what not to do. Also demographic variables like age and identity-based factors. So sometimes some people will get promotion because they are older. Sometimes even because they are younger as well. Depending on what kind of role, depending on what sort of the kind of activities or role responsibilities. You may not want somebody older to fill that position, and so the guy who's younger might just get the advantage. Also, things like gender, right? It's not clearly highlighted there, but yes, there's some roles that might just be well suited for females or males. And there's nothing we can do about it, right? Okay, so evaluation bias is also something that, yes, was looked at. Subjectivity, affinity bias, and structural flaws inherent in performance reviews. So if you have a strong point in your performance reviews and all of that, it could help you get promotions sometimes. And that's not just based on your performance, because I just need to clear that. It could be, talking about affinity bias, maybe, oh, this guy, we are in the same department, but maybe we are in the same unit. So I prefer him to this other guy, right? Something just that's kind of makes both of you have that similarity or something. Maybe I don't want to use things like what do you call it? Like your where you come from or whatever. What do you call it now? I don't want to use things like that. It's not supposed to be in an organization, but of course people do it. Okay, it's my brother from the south, is my brother from this, that's affinity bias. It might be silent, but it happens. So you just need to understand these things. Okay, so strategic visibility.
Sorry, Ms. Oluwatoyin, we have just, I think,
yes,
4 more minutes. I'm sorry for
One.
interrupting.
No problem.
Just four more minutes.
Oh, four. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you. So we're going to talk about strategic visibility, because I mentioned at the start that we're going to go through the things that can help you, to ensure that your performance can be enhanced in order to get, to get promoted or to get to the zenith of your career. We're talking about things like being visible. So how does this work out? High quality performance often goes unnoticed in fast-paced or distracted work environments. So for you to be visible, because the leaders will have their blind spots, sometimes, they're focused on trying to get high-level strategy stuff done. Sometimes they're just not able to go into the granular details of your daily contributions and all of that. So whenever you have the opportunity to impress, you just got to impress. Whenever you got the opportunity, when you have that, that meeting, that one-on-one with your boss, you've got to shout out what you've done. You've got to say it. So one thing that I didn't learn fast enough, like Princess Gibbs said as well, is to be my own megaphone, to shout out and say, I've done this, I've done that. I just saw it as, I've done my work. Why should I now start emphasizing on the things that you have already seen? Or sometimes you've done that work, but your manager or your boss doesn't even know that you've done that work, even though he sits across the room with you every day. He doesn't even though there's no problem, right? When there's no problem, of course, they don't recognize it. But when there's problem, that's when they will say, oh, let's go and see what this guy is doing. So usually you've worked the last 10 years, there's no problem in the organization, you've given them the best. But once there's one problem, everybody starts saying, what's this guy doing? So anytime you do the good job, shout it, shout out, say it out loud, because nobody's going to do that for you, right? So those are the things that can bring visibility for anyone in an organization. Your active communication, your narrative management, frame your achievements within the context of broader organizational goals. Don't make it about yourself. Make it about them, about your manager, about the organization. It's not about it. It's not a meeting. It's we as a whole, as an organization. Also, your brand stewardship. Proactively manage your professional reputation to ensure your skills and value are recognized. Very important. Defining your performance criteria. It talks about the performance is inherently subjective to excel. Individuals must take ownership of their professional narrative through the following strategies: proactive definition, strength amplification, emphasize your unique capabilities, like I said, that provide distinct value to the team and project. Perception management, strategically address and manage views regarding weakness to maintain credibility. So sometimes they ask you, what's your strength, what's your weakness, and everything. How you frame it. You don't just say, oh, I'm not good at this, or I'm this and that. You said, I'm getting better at doing this. Even though last month I felt I didn't do well in this area, I'm now, you frame it in a way that they see you as somebody who is not a weak link in the organization. Organizational alignment, ensure personal performance metrics are directly tied to broader objectives of the organization. Finally, before I close, aligning with your boss, very important. Understand priorities, distinguish between formal metrics and the personal or political priorities of your supervisor. Sometimes politics is a big angle in the organization. You have to learn to play it. I'm not saying you should become a political animal. Like they say, we are all political animals, right? But try to understand the politics and try and play a bit of it. Strategic alignment, proactive communication, like I said before, continuous calibration. And the power of relationship management, we talked about that already. I wouldn't stress on that. Build your relationships, ensure that you are meeting up with people either personally, even if you don't want to go to their houses. Like Princess didn't want her boss to know what was going on in her house when she was in Dubai. You can have a cup of coffee across the road in a cafe or something. Okay, that will help that would help bridge your differences when you talk and laugh. And in conclusion, we're talking about the hybrid approach here. Sustained career growth within a hierarchical or the hierarchy requires the balance of two key components: high performance metrics versus political savviness, which is the accelerator. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Presido. So much, a lot to unpack. You were able to do it in the short amount of time you had. So we'll quickly move on to our next reviewer for the second chapter. I'm calling on Dr. Morayo because of our time. We'll do the review and then we'll ask questions from the two chapters at the end. So Dr. Morayo, over to you.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Doctor. You're welcome.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening.
Thank you. So I'll be talking on chapter 2. And the topic is the personal qualities that bring influence. So one thing about this chapter is that we should all know that change is possible. Anybody can change. That is only the constant thing in life, and anybody can change. And if they talk about the story of Romea, which I will talk about later. The thing about this is that we should bring our personal qualities, and it's our personal qualities that will actually bring the influence. So the core idea here is that power and influence, they are interwoven, and it can be developed. It's not an inherited, as in inherent. It's something that we develop. It's something that we work on. And we should know that people can intentionally build the personal qualities that lead to influence. So this is something that we have to work on, we have to develop. It's not something we are born with. There are some that can be born with it, but you need to develop that skill. It's a skill that need to be developed. And that success require both the desire, you have to desire to lead, and also the skills to work with people effectively. So we all know we're all social animals. So we need to know how to develop these skills and know how to work with people. And as I've said earlier, change is always possible. Anybody, anyone can actually change. That's the only thing that's constant in life. So personal growth and behavioral change can happen, and this can happen at any stage of life. We have heard of people that they become successful when they are older. We've heard of people that became successful when they are younger. So it can happen at any time in life. And a successful leader, such as Romea, that transformed themselves over time. The story of Romea was actually very interesting. He started as a dropout. He dropped out in school at 15 years. So, hello, somebody's talking. Can you still hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
Please
yes, we
continue.
can. Sorry about that.
Okay, so I was talking about
Yes,
the
we
story
can.
of Ron Mayer. That's actually an interesting one. He dropped out of school at 15 and he did other things. And he later became a president of the Universal Studio, which is a very big company. And he rose to, he said he did chauffeur work. He was a driver. It was when he was driving that he was listening to people talking, and he developed interest and he started. So it's a long, tough road, but he got there. He was able to do it. So we should note that successful leaders, he transformed himself over time. So it can happen. And we should also note something about influence, that it comes from learning. It comes from learning, it comes from practicing, and also by us developing new habits. So it's something that is actually what we can work on, what we can develop, and what is skills that we can acquire. And power skills can be learned. I can't overemphasize that. It can be learned, and just like any other skill, it can be learned. So when a key thing to do is for us to conduct an objective self-assessment of ourselves. I mean, being objective, not listening to people that will like praise us or will not want to tell it to our face. We need to do a comprehensive self-assessment of ourselves. We need to recognize our strengths and weaknesses. Honestly, list out your strengths, list out your weaknesses. Then you work on your weaknesses and then you strengthen your strengths. What you already have strength in, you improve on that. Your weaknesses, you try to work on it. And we should avoid like overestimating our abilities or over stating what we know we cannot do, and also ignoring negative feedback. Not all negative feedback are um some of them are actually constructive if we listen carefully and we take the lesson. So when we're being given feedback, let's read it. Let's look at the constructive feedback. Even if it's a negative feedback, we can work on it and develop ourselves better. And also, we should seek advice. There's nothing wrong with seeking advice and feedback. Feedbacks are very, very important. It's like things that will propel us to let us know where we are, what we need to work on, and what we need to improve. And this can be gotten from mentors, from coaches, and trusted people. Then another thing is that we should create a personal development plan for ourselves. It should be personalized and we should regularly review our progress. As we move higher, we try and review our progress and know what we need to work on and what we need to achieve. So there are some qualities that build power. Number one of them is will. That ambition, that energy must be there and focus. We must be determined. We must know where we're going, and we must have that energy, that ambition, that focus is very, very important. Then another skill is self-awareness and reflection. We can't overemphasize it. You have to know yourself before you even know other people or your environment. You have to be self-aware. We have to be taking a lot of courses, not rush things. Try and be mindful. Try and look at things generally. Be self-aware. When we are self-aware, we'll be able to notice a lot of things. And then from there, we can reflect. Another thing is confidence and projecting of self-assurance. Some people looking at you will know whether you are confident. So one has to be confident. You can't see somebody that has power that is not confident. You have to be confident and project it, project that self-assurance. That's why people will actually listen to you or want to hear you out. So it's a skill that we need to develop. And then empathy and understanding of others. This cannot be overemphasized. We have to be empathic. You have to put yourself in people's shoes. You so that you will understand how people think or how they act the way they do. By so doing, you'll be empathic, be able to show compassion and be empathic to people, and then be able to understand people. When you put yourself in other people's shoes, be able to understand them and be able to work with a lot of people. And then there's another ability for us to tolerate conflict and difficult situations. We cannot be in power without knowing how to resolve conflicts, without knowing how to tolerate difficult situations, how to solve when you are in difficult situations, and how to do conflict resolutions. So the key takeaways of this chapter too is that power comes from continuous self-improvement. We have to be, doing personal growth for ourselves, which should be continuous, and self-development. That's how we become powerful. Another thing is that we should develop both our personal drive and then personal skills. We should note what our strengths and what our weaknesses, how we interact with people, how is our interpersonal relationship. All these need to be developed for us to be powerful. Another thing is that we should seek feedbacks. As I've said earlier, we learn from experiences and practices of new behaviors. We learn from hearing people give us constructive feedback and we take it to work. And then small improvement over time will actually lead to significant influence and leadership process. So we should not take it as if It's just more improvement. More improvement consistently over time will lead to significant influence and also leadership success. Thank you very much. This just to summarize chapter 2. Thank you.
Wow, Dr. Marayo, and all of that done in about 10 minutes. I don't think it was up to 10 minutes. 10 minutes. It was perfect, clinical, concise, straight to the point. Thank you so much, Dr. Morayo. Once again,
thank you.
You've given it your all, even with your busy schedule. So thank you. Well, business readers, it's 6:54 p.m. I must first of all thank the two reviewers, our Presido Oluwatoyin and Dr. Morayo. You know, the thing about reading books is it's important that at the end of the book, there's a message, that there's a takeaway that you can work with. And I think the two of them have done that brilliantly. They were able to bring out the key messages from the two chapters. And for me, every other thing, after every other thing, I think the most important thing is the key takeaways from the two chapters. So thank you, Mr. Oluwatoyin. It was beautiful. Your slides were beautiful. Everything was perfect. You gave us real life examples, which I know we all were able to relate with. And then Dr. Morayo, it was clinical, concise, and it was straight to the point. So thank you. And the slides were lovely as well. Thank you. So business readers, the floor is open. Your contributions, questions, differing opinions, whatever it is, you're free to speak up now or forever hold your peace. So the floor is open, everyone.
Let me speak up before I'm being sanctioned to hold my peace. And I want to do that because Dr. Morayo is going to leave soon. She has another meeting at 7. Dr. Morayo, I don't know what it is you're doing, but you continuously amaze me. So for me, it was, you read this heavily texted book and we're all able to summarize, or some of us do it better than others, able to summarize it and make sure that you hit the nail on the head. You're able to extract it and then piece it into your slides such that we can read it. We don't forget that message. And that was very nicely done. I love the presentation. And even though you have a meeting at 7, you were very calm. So being calm and audacious is something I'm learning, right? And, you talked about continuous improvement, and I think it's very important. And then working on your strength, making sure that your strength is consistently enhanced. You just echoed all of those important qualities that we must have before we can acquire power. And I think I like the opening of your presentation also, just making sure that you encourage, inspire us to, learn, because these are all learned skills. Nobody was born with anything, we're all configured plain. You just have to acquire and continuously build on what it is that you have, inherent or not. But leadership is a learned skill. So I love how you have been able to, make your slides so compact, yet very detailed and very enriching. And you summarize the key, lessons from this chapter, which is chapter 2. And I think chapter 2 for me is one of the most cardinal chapter. It's important we pay attention to that chapter because it speaks to us what we can do, to be able to improve and to acquire power. I think in the course of the section, Afsa came in. Afsa, how are you doing? If she's still there. All right, so let me go back to Presido. Presido, as always, wonderful presentation. Presentation slides were looking very charming. Even though we have AI, and I think I want to also make this reference, even though we have AI, own your presentation, make the presentation your own. AI can extract it, and sometimes AI go out and beyond your scope, to be able to bring everything from everywhere and then not even minding to summarize it. You have to be the one to put the prompt, right? To be able to say, hey, I need this in this particular shape and order. And that's what you do. You do it so well. The only addition for me, Presido, when you have done your slide in that matter and you already have your slide, sometimes people will think that because you have 3 slides, that it will take you 10 minutes. It's not true. I hope you know that is not true. You can have 1 slide and speak for 1 hour. So at the beginning of your presentation, please present your slide and then continuously speak. Is engaging, especially because we are business reader and that is our format, modus operandi, they call it, right? That is our own format. That is how we come to the game. That's how we roll. We roll with presentation slides. So if you have your slide and you think it's only 1 slide, put your slide so that we can be seen, so that we start engaging on the screen, because we are now more visually inclined than we used to be. We've come a long way in the boardroom, right? So we like that slide thing, and it's really a guide, because it doesn't just end in the boardroom here. It's a guide for us when we're presenting. I have learned to use presentation to be able to narrow my conversation and stay on track and on point. That's usually what I do with presentation. If I don't have a presentation, I can speak from now to tomorrow and I'll speak out of context. And I think that is not right. So once you have a presentation, 1 slide or 2, present it at the beginning, saves us time, and then you can have the conversation. And I would love to add that pause, always pause, because I notice most times we also forget the audience. We are using virtual too. So always pause to ask your audience if they are with you, if they're listening, if you have not lost us, and stuff like that. Bring us back to the room almost immediately, just in case. And because most of us turn off our cameras, you don't know what we're doing behind the screen. And I don't want us to forget that etiquette, because this is a visual room. We're interacting via this means. And if you get used to mastering that skill as a visual presenter, you also adapt it when you are presenting face-to-face with other people. So for me, both of you, excellent presentation. I love the opening. I thank everyone for joining. It's wonderful to return back to the boardroom. I don't know how it makes me feel. Sometimes we think we're very tired, we're doing so much, but when we come back, we now realize, oh, we're missing a lot. We've not read anything. We need to unpack knowledge. So it's really good to have everyone here, and it's wonderful to be back in the boardroom after such a long time. So thank you all, and that's my contribution. Over to you, Nana.
Just thank you so much for your contributions. Yes, we're all learning, so I guess it's important that we get the feel of the room, like you said, and ensure the room we're all carrying everyone along. So any more comments, questions, or contributions? And like we said earlier, you're free to defer, to bring a different opinion. Yes. So anyone else? Go ahead.
Engineer Ken. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, BRG. Wonderful presentations from the 2 presenters. My Presido, you did well, Dr. Morayo, a good one. Presido, I would like us to power and politics, work and politics. As we say in Nigeria, they tell you that civil service is eye service. And truly, it's beginning to become the norm. People want you to dance to their tune, not to play your own tune, simply because they are in charge. And to tell you the fact, I as a person, I don't like politics. If my spirit doesn't align with yours, especially when you are proud or you are arrogant, I don't align with it, and I abhor it, and you will not get the best from me. So in this case, I don't know how to unlearn. On a serious note, I don't pretend. So, and whatever it brings, no problem. But I won't want to bootlick just because I want to have power. So that's my own contribution. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Oluwatoyin, would you like to respond to that? Or does anyone else have a response?
I can attempt. I can attempt to respond. And that's because I relate to this. I relate to his question. And in the course of the conversation, especially during Sir Oluwatoyin's presentation, I was reflecting because, he really unpacked a lot of nuances around the workplace. And, some of us went into work in very big organization without acquiring the requisite skill. If you look at Dr. Morayo's presentation, you see that one is the wheel, and then the rest were all skills. So the first thing is the wheel, which is your mindset now. Do I want to play the game? Do I not want to play the game? What is my goal at the end of the day? And even Sir Oluwatoyin, place that picture of your goal. What is your goal? What do you want to achieve at the end of the day? You want to stay in civil service and not get promoted? I'm just saying. So we went into work in big organization without necessarily acquiring skills. And we went with a mindset that was already condemning in nature, because our climb, for those of us that had worked in multinational company, our climb is different from the international climb. The politics might be a little bit, I think it's even the same. Yeah, it's just the same, because one way or the other, you have to know what is of priority to your boss. And you just have to play to that tune. Otherwise, you're out of the game. So in my case, I can give you an example somewhere in the world. My boss loves gossip. I don't do gossip. I don't see how I can sit down and put Oluwatoyin on the table, we chop him, we put Nana, we chop Nana, we put Engineer Ken, we chop. So I didn't know how to play that game. So I can understand the pain, but I think now that I'm a little bit wiser, I could have done my own politics my way, because now I have a lot of influence. I have a lot of self-awareness. I don't know if you understand. I could have played the game a little bit different without pockets. Sorry?
It's Rita. I would just say
Is it Afsat that's speaking? So I could have done it.
Sorry for the interruptions.
Yeah. Engineer Ken, I could have done it differently. I could have done it because I am full of myself. I have knowledge. I have strength. I'm not naive. I'm not that little girl that came to work, in an international organization. I'm not naive anymore. I would have had a different kind of goal on what I wanted to achieve, and maybe put some audacious goal, so that when I achieve this and I pack it down and move, without allowing you to see how ambitious I was. In my own case, you could see my naivety, but you could also see that I was very ambitious. You knew where I was going to. So if you're among the players, they can read you easily. So I think there are different kind of skills, and that was very well articulated in the presentation that Dr. Morayo gave, such that you know how to manage conflict, difficult situation, you are self-aware, you have empathy, you can navigate these people without them seeing. I don't know if you understand what I mean. I think it would have been very different, and it is possible that you can also unlearn, because the person you used to be 2 years ago, Engineer Ken, is different from who you are now. You've evolved. And your circle of friends have also evolved. So if you've mastered the art and you've come up that ladder, I think you should be able to acquire different kind of skills to be able to navigate such circumstances and not necessarily dance to the tune of other people. I don't know if that makes sense. So that's my attempt, Nella. I don't know if it makes sense to you, Engineer Ken, but I think I would have played my game a little bit more different.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you so much for that explanation. Princess, does anyone have anything else to say? Okay, it's 7:09. At this point, I would say the key takeaways would be, I think in the beginning, the first reviewer, Dr. Oluwatoyin, talked about some of the skills we must have. He talked about strategic visibility, and he mentioned a few other skills. I think he said competence or good performance is not enough. And that was what he began with in chapter 1. He talked about other things, relationships and so on, which are also important. And then in chapter 2, the writer went on to talk about the skills which we must develop. And Dr. Morayos began chapter 2 by saying change is possible and that we need to change and develop skills, which Princess also highlighted. So we've come to the end of today's review. At this point, I'd like to say thank you, everyone. Princess, it seems your influence is even much more than I imagined. I'm actually enjoying anchoring this. So thank you for asking me to do it. Yes, I'm excited. It's an exciting book, an exciting review so far. And there's so much, it's easy. The two reviewers made it quite easy, to pick the lessons from the first 2 chapters. So thank you to both of you once again. And for tomorrow, we'll be doing chapter 3 and 4. And I'm already looking forward to hearing what the author has to say.
Aliyu and Maro will be presenting tomorrow. David, please kindly effect the changes that is necessary.
All right, everyone. So business readers, power, influence, developing skills, we'll get there. So once again, everyone, have a lovely evening. Someone wants to say something? Okay.
Yes, Hafsat.
So have a lovely evening.
Hafsat, I think that's Aliyu.
Yeah,
okay,
good evening, business readers.
Good evening, Hafsat.
I just want to be brief because sorry I came in late, but I was able to listen to Dr. Morayo. And one thing she emphasized on was the aspect of improving our skills, which the author emphasized on. So there's this experience. I just want to share my own personal experience in brief. I remembered my former boss. He told us that the first thing he does anytime he's meeting someone for the first time is 3 things. Ask in abbreviation, ASK. The A stands for attitude, S stands for skills, and the K stands for knowledge. So he gives you that assessment. How well are you when it comes to how good are you when it comes to your character, how you communicate, how you speak to strangers or even people you are familiar with. Then the skills, what are you bringing? What value are you coming up with? Are you bringing to the table or the organization you are looking out for to join? And your knowledge, what knowledge do you have about that particular skills, or what do you have that they don't have? Just like Sir Oluwatoyin mentioned, always look at the organization, not yourself. So the author is trying to he's more emphasizing more on look out for what value are you giving the organization you are working with, not you, how well you how okay I have good communication skills. Are you using it well? You may be good at a particular skill, but how impactful are you making it? Your visibility, the aspect of strategic visibility. So I really enjoyed their review, and it made me have this connection. I had this thoughtful thinking. What my boss used to tell us, he said, anywhere we are, we should look out for these things. And even organizations you are looking out to join or you are working with, look at their vision, their core values. Does it align with what you are, who you are as a person? And Dr. Mara mentioned self-awareness, or is it princess? I think so. Yes, these are skills that are hidden. And when you combine things like this, is what shapes who you are and the impact you are giving that organization. Your core values should align. Their own core values, does it resonate with yours? Because they may be doing something that is against your own core value. And if you are working with such organization, there's no way you may not experience conflict. So to avoid that, you need to be self-aware, have skill of empathy, effective communication, and the rest. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Hafsat. We've said that with the business readers, it's not just learning from the pages of the books we read. Actually, from the conversations we have, we also have key lessons which we take away. So thank you for that acronym, ASK, attitude, skill, and knowledge. Thank you for that contribution, Hafsat. Yes. So someone else had a contribution?
I think it was that Leo. I don't know if he switched to his phone.
Okay. Okay, then, in the absence of any other, on that note, would like to say good night, everyone. We're not boot leaking, but we're learning skills.
Yeah.
And influence.
Good
Thank
night.
you all. Good night. Have a rest.
Thank you. Good night. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.